First is public hearing and adoption of ordinances.
Ordinance number 29-2015, an ordinance amending section 2-102 of the Code of the Township of Teaneck to increase the number of alternate members to the Board of Adjustment from 2 to 4. Ordinance number... Hearing first.
What? You
have to have the hearing first.
Oh, so, okay. So
I'm Chuck Powers from Teaneck. I'm talking about ordinance 29-2015, an ordinance amending section 2-102 of the Code of the Township of Teaneck to increase the number of alternate members of the Board of Adjustment from 2 to 4. Obviously, it's extraordinarily important that you pass this ordinance. But it was extraordinarily important that somebody tell you, way back in 2004 or 5, that once the state of New Jersey, at the specific request of members of this council to Senator Weinberg, that the number of allowed alternates to a Board of Adjustment be increased from 2 to 4, that somebody, perhaps your attorney, captures the fact that your code did not follow what it was that you were then allowed to do. I've researched this pretty carefully. How in the world will you have gone on for a period of either 9 or possibly 10 years, appointing people, achieving quorums, perhaps even having dispositive votes occur with alternates 3 and 4, who by the code had no business being there, and in fact, you folks actually have sitting in your Board of Adjustment an alternate number 3, who of course, not until you pass this tonight, can possibly have been elected to be an alternate to the Board of Adjustment. That is not the only problem, folks, that you've got in this code. Your code is rife with things that you don't want. Tonight, you had no right to change the order from passing an ordinance onto the issue of good and welfare unless you actually, with a quorum of those present, decided by majority vote that that's what you wanted to do. Because there is an order that you folks passed on the 24th of March that said that you couldn't have that happen unless you had such a vote. There is neither clarity about what the code requires, as is exampled by this, and a liability that may actually attend to the fact you've had people for 9 years voting in situations where they were not authorized by code to do so. But you also have the situation where you don't, once you have a code, enforce it. And it is so rife, I can just name it in most meetings. 3 or 4 violations of the Open Public Meetings Act. You've got to get it organized so that what you pass is what you want the code to be, consistent with the law of the state. And then what it is that you enforce is consistent with that code.
Thank you very much, Dr. Powers. Anyone else wish to speak on these ordinances? No? Our hearing is now closed.
I'm thoroughly confused about how this wasn't part of our code, but we've had alternates who may have been voting on, in the absence of regular board members. Do those votes count? I mean, if we have a code.
All right, that's an attorney question. Okay. All right, Councilman.
He never turns on his, nobody can ever hear what he says.
Can't hear him. We are confident we could defend any actions taken by the Board of Adjustment.
The only.
Okay, Councilman Sullivan.
Adam Brown, when he spoke during Good and Welfare, or the post-Good and Welfare portion of the program, spoke about having a set of rules, having them consistently and reasonably enforced. I think we need to really sit down and devote the time. I know it's challenging to go through Section 2 of the code. We have a lot of issues there where I think when I've looked through it where issues have come up, issues have arisen, that I think we need to devote that time to make sure that this is solid, that we the things in Section 2 of the code make sense, that they are appropriately enforced. I mean, one of the examples, in Section 216, if I recall, specifies the order of meetings. It not only specifies the order of meetings, it specifies that meetings should end at 11 o'clock. And it specifies that meetings should end at 11 o'clock so that decisions are made at a point in time where members of the council, members of the public are in an appropriate frame of mind to make effective decisions. We don't end meetings on time. We don't need to make bets as to whether meetings will end after 11 o'clock. It's pretty much a given that they will. The only question is how much later. And the question was raised earlier by Ms. Kramer, who's still here. We need to devote those additional meetings, to put meetings on the calendar. We have added some, but I think we need to add that as part of our regular calendar so that we have the time to appropriately consider items, to conduct meetings, to ensure that all the aspects of how our township is structured, how meetings are run, how boards and commissions are set up, how the departments in the township operate are according to Hoyle. I don't doubt that this is a daunting task. I think it is something that we need to work on, and I hope that we can get some finalization on in the immediate future.
Thank you. Roll call on the two that,
Motion to table, are we tabling those? What are we?
no, not table, it's carrying, right?
Exactly, you're not taking a vote on it.
Right. So we're just voting on ordinance 29-215 and ordinance 32-215.
Can I have a motion and a second?
That was a motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Council?
I'm going to abstain on 29 and a yes on 32.
Councilman Hamidine?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz?
Yes.
Councilman Pruitt? Yes. Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Councilman Sol?
Yes.